And a big hey now out there to all you folks on this Sunday or Monday, wherever you might be. Wow. Pretty interesting last couple of weeks. Interesting day. I started out the day planning to go ahead and stream just to do an update on the good old T-shares and where we're at with T-shares. Coming off the ending of those 30-day stakes this morning from the OA, early this morning. And then damn, that OA front ran me, right? Now I have all these new stakes coming out. What a marvelous mess, right? To kind of figure out what the heck's going on. Woo. So with that, you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. I'll try to answer them. Make sure that we can kind of get there. And I would just say to Johnny Chaos, are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? I sent you a note over on X in case you wanted to join, Johnny. But I'll send a link there if you happen to get so excited you want to join in the fun. I'm going to start with prepping up for what I was going to talk about and just show you what the state was of the union, so to speak, this morning before this latest action. So let me get over there and we'll do that. All right. I see a whole bunch of regulars out here. So many people in the chat. And and the very first question is, what about the big burns happening? Well, at this point, they're not quote unquote burns yet that I've seen. I haven't seen any hex sent off to Never Neverland, which would be like the 369 address, the dead address. But we are seeing staking. So let me start with that. See if I can share this screen out from the old Telegram. Let's see. You guys make sure you tell me if you can see this. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger if I need to. All right. So we started out a little bit earlier today, early in the morning, with seeing this would have been my time, which is 4 o'clock a.m., 4:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. That was today. And we started seeing some of the 30-day stakes come out. 30 billion or 50 billion hex came out, another 50 billion, another 50 billion, another 50 billion. And so the ending of some of those 30-day stakes, because there's so many stakes out there and so many wallets, I can't tell you exactly what's happening with all the numbers yet. We're just gonna have to watch and see what happens. And so it'll be another couple days for some of this to shake out. Never seen the OA do scam type transactions, but some of these could be ended before the end of the day, and there would be no penalty. They could go through. I would expect they'll just go through these new stakes. And then about 2:02 p.m., which would have been about an hour ago, we started seeing a lot of hex being staked on both the Pulse chain side, something in the neighborhood of 245 billion hex on Pulse being staked at various lengths, and then maybe about 2 to 3 times more being staked on the EHEX side. All right, so that was kind of interesting. So in my mind, what that means when we're looking at that is that we're going to see different dynamics take place on both of the chains, right? So what will end up happening is, if these all go through, which I would expect they will, we'll have more T-shares, if that ratio is correct, that have been created on the EHEX side, which means that EHEX becomes even more rare long term, right? And non-OA hands, but also brings down the payout and the APR. So there's a lot to unpack with all that. And it also will become more rare on the Pulse chain side, but not to the same extent, and the APRs will be possibly higher, right? So that's what we might see with them. All right, let's see what else we got. We got Awilan. Saw the staking taking place and check Pulse 2% content. Great job. You're welcome. You are welcome. Let's see. Johnny's saying, entertain me, Tam. Hello. I won't get to everybody in here. Yeah, Oliver, it's a little bit of clickbait on the whole is staking obsolete. Now, I think when you're coming to my channel and you're listening to what I'm talking about, um, obviously it's not obsolete, right? Staking is not obsolete, but the dynamics of it have changed, and man, it's like the perfect storm of of having to really have a strong amount of belief in Hex and the Hex ecosystem in order to stake. You really do, right? Because now we're looking at, I don't know what the APRs will come down to, but maybe a Quattro Cinco is going to be somewhere in the 4 to 5% range. By the time we're all done, said and done here this week. And yeah, so a lot of people are going to be looking at this like, why would I stake? I wouldn't even stake short term. Why would I stake for a few percentage points? But that the devil's in the details with it, right? Because what that's going to mean is that even more people will probably fade staking, and so only those who truly believe in Hex and staking will stake, and those people will be the only ones that will receive the rewards for new Hex, and this will play out over months, if not years. It's not, and that's the other thing. It's so slow, right? I mean, we're all watching these different charts and whatnot. And people are looking for, their 1,000x today. They're not looking. Most people are not here going, "Hey, I'm willing to wait 3, 4, 8 years, 12 years," right? But for those of us who've already jumped in and said, "Okay, I'm going to sign up and I'm going to put my hex in. I'm going to make my commitments. And I have a ladder." It's like perfect. It's like a perfect storm, right? And it even can be really good for new people, but again, it's going to be so hard for them to get past that point where they're going to be like, "Yeah, this is a good idea." I mean, uh, price appreciation beats rewards, always does. But what it doesn't do is keep your crypto safe in your hands, and while the staking does lock it up. All right, Hamming Distance is saying, "Hello, hello, hello, staker." Yes. And am I excited? I am. And I am entertained. I am entertained regarding Hex because I already have a pretty well formed strategy, both with staking and what my plans are long term. I'm just watching. I mean, what else is there to do? Now, there are people who are going to trade the ratios. And I do wonder if what we're going to end up with is a situation where people get so freaked out about what's happening that they turn around and move towards Pulse rather than staying in EHEX. Or there are probably some other ideas, like with even less EHEX coming out, it's even easier for it to peg, for the two of them to peg. Will they? I don't know. Could they? Sure. If enough people got behind it and wanted to do it. Um, but it will definitely be an extension of Hex in general, and not the main show. Not for most people. Just scanning through to see what else. Oh yeah, this is a good comment. T squared. These long-term stakes just killed the EHEX, PHEX, forced narrative, parity narrative. Oh, I can't force parity without massive liquid bags of both. That's true. But I think, well, in part it's true. I have no idea at this point what the OA controls or doesn't control. I mean, there are just so many addresses and so many stakes. Um, but in general, like looking at big players, there's still plenty of big players, and they're big players I don't know. Right? I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're part of the OA. I don't know if they're part of a group. Don't know. Can't possibly know. And so I have to look at this, kind of like top down. What's happening? What are we seeing? But I don't think that the parity narrative is dead, as I just said, because with even less available on the market, the market could decide to do it. And what would that look like? since there's less EHEX potentially available and less liquidity for EHEX, strong buying pressure on EHEX would drive the price up faster than PHEX and possibly come to some close number that looks like parity. But it could go the other way too. I mean, when we talk about volatility, it goes both ways. And so if people are going to trade it down, then you wouldn't have parity. But it's going to it's definitely creating some fireworks, that's for sure. Um, yeah, Gustavo, yeah, obvious point. Yes, less yield. Yes, yield. True Moxie, short-term rollers are dead. I've seen some coming through, but yeah, I mean, it really is going to be quite interesting, isn't it? Because what we're doing is um, it's not removing inflation, but overall, it's moving the inflation into different hands. Now, some people believe the OA is diamond-handed, right? And that we wouldn't expect to see any type of negative effect because the OA happens to be holding so much. And so that just means that people who could hurt the price won't get as much. And then, of course, even within that group of people that could get enough, that's primarily stakers, right? Unless they bought it off the market. And there's plenty of people who bought it off the market. Our charts show us that accumulation has been in force, right? People have been accumulating more and accumulating more in wallets. So there's plenty of liquid out there too. But in terms of the people who hold stakes, etc., we just haven't seen a real strong narrative of capitulation. People just haven't been dropping out, and they may, right? I mean, at $1, $2, $5 hex, they may. Maybe 50-cent hex. You pick a number. We could see people drop out, but we haven't seen it yet. And so we'll have to watch that and see. All right. What else we got here for questions? Yeah. Hey, Docil's asking how much interest roughly would a 6-month to a year at current rates? I don't know. It's a guess at this point. I don't know how this is going to shake out. Maybe it's going to be in the 2% range, 3% range, maybe less on the HEX side. And again, that kind of like underscores this idea that people, who when you try to talk to somebody about staking HEX, you get to like really, really believe that it's going to be worthwhile. Now, 2%, 3% on on a penny HEX is way different than 2 or 3% on a $10 HEX. And so that's the kind of thing that people are thinking about that have their stakes in there already, and they're expecting the extreme price appreciation. Yes, I just said $10 hex. Do I know that's going to happen? No, but I mean, is it possible? Sure. Why not? I mean, it is crypto, and people, more people buy than sell. You'll see that. So yeah, Docile, maybe a couple days. Let's see this all settle out. We'll see how many T-shares we really ended up with. There could be other people pulling out. Don't know. Once we get there. All right. Now, Wheezy Bird, how much can the T-share rate increase with each yearly when each yearly stake ends? That'll take some time as well to go look at. It's likely that in most cases with these new stakes that were made, that those stakes will not create any type of an increase, most of them. They could, timing-wise, end up creating very small ones. But you have to remember, we already have stakes that have been programmed in. And what I mean by programmed in is they've been made over the last 5 years. And they're ending in the next 10 years. And so during that period of time, they've already, if they've been, particularly if they've been around for a little bit, they've already have received much, much, much more reward or yield, depending on the term you want to use, for having been staked, which means their calculations are baked in. And so if you have stakes that were earning 7 hex per T-share, 8 hex per T-share on average, it's going to take an awful lot for something that's earning, one hex per T-share to overwhelm that and change the calculation. And that's because when each one of those stakes ends, the calculation is run, and you would actually have to see, you'd actually have to see enough reward come out in those stakes to actually move the needle. So again, it comes back to hex being on like a 15-year type of a cycle. It's not so much that it's just a this cycle thing. I mean, yeah, we're one cycle in. I guess you'd argue we're starting on our second cycle now, as we get into it, based on years. But that 15 years of hex staking overlays all of the other cycles that are taking place in crypto below it. All right. You dropped the like, Paul. Hey, Paul, how are you, buddy? NJ Dub was hoping to actually get some gratification instead of just delaying it only. Yeah, I, I think that's a valid comment. A lot of people would share that sentiment. I mean, it's not terrible, but yeah, I mean, the gratification's got to be in units earned if you have a ladder. Green Yeats, my friendo. All right. Getting price appreciation in the multiple of X's on bags that have gone up even 2% in units have quite a bit more value if the portfolio of the bag did not gain the 2%. Yeah. And I think what you're getting at is, sure, the average for Quattro Cinco has come way down in terms of APR, way down, right? Maybe cut by a third, maybe it's cut now by three quarters, right, from where it was. So or a little bit more, it should go the other way, right, by half or whatever. But yeah, a simple double, like in terms of USD value, fiat value, overcomes that overnight. Yeah, hey, Sunlight. It's quite possible that the APR on PHEX will be better than EHEX. It's quite a possibility. Again, we have to wait for the dust to settle, see what we end up with for T-shares on both chains and how people are engaging. Personally, I wouldn't recommend anybody run out and start making big changes until they understand more. Now, if you've already done the research, you've dug into it, that's your decision. People can decide that, but I think that might be the outcome here, right? And the reason I'm guessing this is really high level is that I'm seeing more hex being staked on the EHEX side than the PHEX side, and if that's the case, it means there's more T-shares, and if there's more T-shares, the daily inflation is spread against more T-shares, which means the payout is lower, which means the APR would be lower. Let's see. All right, Johnny's joining in. Without enough coins, I can't keep Pulse side at a premium either. Yeah, I guess that is a point. Somebody was using those tokens anyways to really push the price in one direction or another. T squared saying, yeah, market could decide on parity, but the OA enforced parity is no longer possible. Yeah, you might be right. I leave it open. To see what happens. But so yeah, I really don't have a dog in that fight or a horse in that race. Meaning, I've got both. I do what I'm doing. And if they're both going to do well, if one does better than the other, I'm good with it. If they go to parity, I'm good with it, as well. All right, let's see what else we got here. Interesting move from the OA, Koshin says, but first we need to know how much hex left liquid on both chains. Yeah, excluding the OA wins. Yeah, I think, yeah. I think we do need to wait it out and see. At this point, you won't get T-shares you have if you decide to image. That's exactly right. And kind of like digging into that a little bit further. The point that Koshin's making that we've talked about a bunch of times is with the with the lower payouts and the continued rise of the T-share rate, it is going to be even more difficult. Already was difficult to get the same number of T-shares, um, but it's going to become even more difficult to get the same number of T-shares, right? And so that means if people were to merge the NSTake, they're not going to be able to replace them. I mean, by definition, you can't replace them, not without bringing more value in than you had. So I'm hoping that people don't emerge the end state with the idea that they're going to turn around and restake. That would be kind of silly at this point. But again, there have been times where that was a good deal. Gustavo, good to see you. Do you still believe in calm? And if so, why? Yeah, I still believe in calm. Of course, all of this does affect things. And calm, of course, is communis, and it's the reward token for keeping your ladder up in hex or staking in hex. You get this extra token called calm if you choose to go claim it. Um, but Hart's law is in effect. There is LP. People have those tokens. Um, in theory, it could overperform. I probably need to talk to Johnny Sachs or excuse me, yeah, Johnny Sachs or to Kodiak about what their thoughts are, because the way COM works, it doesn't. I don't think it cares about the number of T-shares. It cares about the T-share rate. And so I don't think that what's been taking place today indirectly does affect COM payouts, but I don't believe it directly affects COM payouts. So, um, people would still be able to earn COM and then put that COM to use and get more hex with it if they chose to. Archie, good to see you. Yeah. Hey, Leon, I'll take my COM as my stakes roll out. Not buying it, but I'm sure selling half of it with each stake. Sure. Yeah, a lot of people have done that. Koshin's talking about the capitulation events or potential and maybe at 10 cents, we get a price like that. Yeah, of course, people. I mean, not everybody has millions and millions, but so let's go ahead and scale it down. If you had a million hex that was coming out, um, and you were close enough that it made sense to merge the end stake, and you're at 10 cent hex, maybe you can get 50K or something out of it at 10 cents. Yeah, people might do that. My math there is a million hex at 10 cents is $100,000 USD, and you just cut it right in half and said half of it would go to penalties. I mean, it's still a pretty good amount of money. 50K is 50K. Now that's not my choice, but yeah, I do think that the lettuce hands will begin to drop for sure, for sure. Johnny's talking about the flippening. If the OA doesn't set a ratio, it is possible each side can flip it based on a lower availability and closer to the entrance. Sure. And by close to the entrance, meaning entrance to the casino, more people have value on ETH that they might be able to drop in and turn it over, right? Again, never count out crypto and what it could do. Mike's asking, how likely is it that the next step will be a big exchange listing? I don't know, dude. I assume it's unlikely as hell, but it's certainly possible. I think we're going to be more. It might be further down the road, like um, when the industry completely capitulates and is like, yeah, you guys are right. This is a good asset. Remember, the exchanges work on a earnings model, right? They're looking to earn money. And so first off, DeFi, decentralized DeFi, that isn't really a strong encouragement for them because people aren't going to trade as much, right? Through their centralized exchange. And so they're not going to get the kind of value. And then the other big payola out there is usually to get listed, you need to send them tokens. Somebody's got to send them tokens, and because they don't want to buy the tokens, right? And so what we really be saying about an exchange, a centralized exchange, is they would have to like Hex and Pulse Chain enough um, that they turn around and go buy off the open market and load up their exchange with enough of a reserve to support trading, right? And so it's just hard to do. And I do agree. Sunlight is saying that if PHEX was listed on exchanges, it would be easier to get as EHEX, and that could be true. But I think that, you know what, if things are going to work without centralized exchanges, that's okay too. And this, in general, and Johnny's making a good comment here. So hey, it's perfectly fine with me if everyone wants to merge the stake on each side, and that's fine with me too. I don't recommend it. Um, but that's been kind of like the inside discussion all the time, right? I mean, people who want to get out, they want to get out. Now some people have the strategy already planned, that's what they were going to do, and that's fine. But who receives the benefit of that is the remaining stakers, including the OA. So it can help the existing stakers that are non-OA, but not as much as it would have before. Let's see. Yeah, T2, I'm not sure which one you're talking about, what you're talking about, Mercy and Stakes or not, but yeah, I mean, we clearly see people are interested in buying and holding X, and some are even staking it, even Quattro Cinco now. Um, let's see, what else we got here? This is a very good point, T squared. I think we see effective deflation of Hex at some point over the next few years, and I'd like to underscore next few years, right? 15-year cycle in Hex. These changes, while they do obviously affect us now, these could be real long term, but they affect us. And this will be months, if not years, to play out. Now, even when we were looking at, and I'll pull up the charts in a moment, we'll look at the what the T-share rates were headed to, where they're likely to be headed to in the near term. Even as we've been watching this over the last 5 years, um, things are really slow. They change really slow, and the only entities that could really make big differences have been the OA and like Godwell, and now the OA has moved and it's made big changes, and it's actually reduced the increase in T-share rate by about 50% per year. Maybe that's going to be more exaggerated now. I don't know. So like before, I would just thumbnail somebody, said, "Well, how much does T-shares go up per year?" I could point to it and go, "Well, expect that the T-share rate would go up about 10,000 hex per year," but now it looks more like 5,000, right? With everything that's been going on, and that's the effect of all these additional T-shares. And so it's still going to be expensive and going up. It just won't go up as fast. In fact, I even have to change some of my charts because I had optimized them for having certain ranges and whatnot. So they look kind of funky, some of them now. Let's see here. Yeah, latest. That's a good calculation. What's the hex price have to be to get 38% APY? And I'm assuming in USD terms. Not very much, really. I haven't done the calc on it, but if we just said nominally 3%, right? So it depends when you buy it, I guess, is really what it is, isn't it? Because if you're using dollars to buy in at a high price, it's still going to be a low APY. But if you had gotten it early, you could measure that over time. So I don't think it's easily calculable, to be able to do that. All right. Chaos says, obviously the founding community is going to prefer its own chain. Duh. Problem is a very small portion of the overall markets. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else. What else we got? Hey, Shellfox. That's Child. How are you, buddy? All right. Koshin saying we're ahead of the curve, just like with immutable code of Hex back in the day. The world hasn't come to understand the model we preach about. We are a real pirate ship with free sales. Yeah, that's the truth. Oh, sunlight. Sunlight's talking about the dollar. I don't think the dollar dies, but who knows? I don't know. Define die. What does that mean? Certainly, changes are afoot. Changes are afoot. And then finally, T before we move over into charts. Yeah, as far as what the payouts are going to be, I don't know. I don't know. I have to go look and see what actually has been created and see what's been happening with it. Well, let me switch over to different screen. I'm going to go ahead and show our info, and at least where we were before all this started this morning. We obviously can say that you can't count on the OA doing nothing at this point because the OA is doing stuff, even if it's far and few between, right? All right. Let's get over here to this chart and just see what's been happening. All right, so to start with, I'll show you this. We're looking at the average stake length of HEX stakes created. So in terms of, hey, is HEX staking dead? Well, not dead. People are doing it. OA is obviously doing it, but the amount of stakes being made and T-shares being made by the average person is dropping off pretty rapidly. On this chart, you see this huge spike in February in terms of average stake length up to 12 years and 7.8 years on the two different charts. And so that's an anomaly having to do with these OA stakes that have come through. But when we isolate it out, we're still trending downwards for the average users. Let's take a look at our 30-day look ahead. We just came off of a pretty large increase in the T-share rate. So 30 days kind of wonky, but let's look at the 60-day. So you can see this increase where we went from about 40K to up to 41K on both chains that did come through. And that's again because we have mirrored stakes that are out there and it brought it up to that rate. And then if we go out the next 60 days, we'll see some moderate increases upwards and to the right in the T-share rate. Go out 90 days, a little bit more definition where perhaps we'll be approaching, close to the 42 level. That's 42,000 hex per T-share. And then if we go out even a little bit further, out to 120 day, we should hit that number and be able to move in towards the end of the year. And currently at the end of the year, I'm guessing it would be about 45,000 by the end of 25. Now, our previous target before all the OA action was right around 49,000 for both chains. So this is where I'm saying is rather than my expecting that we might see something on that order of 10,000 per year, I'm thinking it's going to look more like 5,000 per year. And so when we go to the end of 25, again, from around 45,000, just about 50,000, all the way out here in 27. So that's so from January 26 from 45 to something like 50,000, and then from January 27 until the end of the year 27, about 55. So these numbers are still going to be going up faster than people can earn. So you're not going to be able to earn enough hex to replace your T-shares. There's just no way that's going to happen. So from an earning of hex perspective, you're not going to be able to earn enough hex to replace T-shares if you're already in, but the rate will be going up at a slower rate because they're both affected by the number of T-shares. All right, going to our all models list. Now I still have my KSB TV estimate way up here at 830 because that's an expert number. That's a number somebody decided on based on their expert experience. That's what we call an expert forecast. Our mathematical forecast of the Hopper multiples still has us out in, this is only going out into May of 2040, but has us somewhere up in the 242,000 range. But the calculated numbers based on the new share rate are much lower right now, somewhere in the 80,000 range. So I would expect that we were talking before the OA was staking that perhaps we would see 300,000 hex per T-share in 15 years. Now that's come down and been separated a little bit. So I would venture to say somewhere between this big purple line at 243 and the 80, which gets us what 60,000, 30, so somewhere around the 200,000 hex per T-share or 210. It's all super relative to whatever happens, and so I'll work on cleaning this up a little bit and coming up with some newer ratios. We'll see what that all comes out looks like. All right, let's see what else. Max T-shares are all messed up based on all this because max T-shares came way down, right? There really is not a lot you can do to create new T-shares now. I mean, we've just taken a ton of that circulating hex and made T-shares. What I want to show you here, composites. Let's see if we can get our T-share count up. Here we go. So you can see the T-share count. It's all pretty funny looking now, isn't it? Look at that and how it comes out. Let me change the date to 1/1/2025 and see what this looks like. All right. So this is what it looked like for T-shares, just coming down, coming down, coming down until we got into January 25. Then you get into the OA creating T-shares, and boom, a new high. And now I would expect that, and this, remember guys, this is data that I collected right before these new stakes, so it'll be another couple of days. So we're looking at what it would have looked like earlier. And so let's put in that's 316. So let's do 217, February 17th, 2025, and just see what we were looking at here. So again, the kind of my range is a little messed up here, but you can see we've been trending down a little bit on this from when the OA made his stakes in the first place, or their stakes. So we've been trending down. So what does that mean to me is, yes, visually this is not super easy to understand now, but we'll begin to see the number of T-shares begin to decline again once the system settles out. So what that mean is over time the payouts will go up. We look at the HEX T-shares and what's out there. Really totally whacked out my chart. So while before we did see a steep decline over time, even before today's stakes, you were seeing kind of a steady decline to something like 16 million out into 2040 for that year. If we were to look at it, day by day, it would trail to zero, but you had quite a few T-shares all the way out into 2040. And then, of course, the number of T-shares expiring. This 2040 number in green is like this is the big old OA wedge, right? I mean, just like tower, right? While before, when we weren't looking at 2040, we were seeing 2029, 30 being very big years. They pale in comparison, though. All right. So yeah, I mean, will these towers be taken down? I don't know. Maybe. Let's look at the HEX side. Same type of scenario. Again, changed our numbers quite a bit. Let me take out 2040, and you can still see we have these numbers of T-shares fairly intact. And so what we haven't been seeing yet, and would expect to see with extreme price appreciation, is that these T-shares may be emergency unstaked on either chain for 2930, particularly if you see something like a 10-cent hex, or combined price or higher. The higher it goes, more likely it is that people with those stakes will get out of the system. I don't think it's great advice to tell people to do that, but hey, each person, it's DeFi, they can do what they want, right? So if they want to get out, they can get out, and that's fine. And the benefit is to the rest of the stakers who remain in, and to the environment, the community itself. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, I haven't even tried this. Should I push this button and see what does it look like? 1 million hex. What does this even look like? Boom. Yeah, that changed a little bit. Not a lot yet. And just what it would take. You see how, for those of you who've been watching this in the past, this is um, the number of T-shares if you went and staked 1 million hex, and just how quickly now it's kind of like dropping down, and what you would be able to get for T-shares. Not really pertinent now. I guess I'll have to wait and see how things go and do some recalculations. We were looking at average stake links before for open stake, so or I was looking at what they would have been made, but for open stakes, it's come down to came way down with the 30-day stakes. Looking at the average open, and then came up to 6.1 with some of these shorties being ended now, and so 6.1 years on the EHEX side and 6 years on the PHEX side. So people are still looking at the staking. And let's look at one other thing to show you what people have been doing. Quadricinco was. So again, OA really affected what's been happening with the amount of hex that's been staked and the T-shares staked. So February was like this huge number of T-shares that came out that went out Quadricinco, but I'll exclude it. And you can still see that we're trending in the downward direction. It's likely if I was able to get some analysis done on this, what we would find is that the average person is still going to be fading the whole HEX staking, just in general, right? And man, it just creates such a bullish situation, because what it means is the average person's be like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to hold my HEX. And if they're holding their HEX rather than staking it, they're not going to earn anything on it in terms of rewards. And that might be fine for them. If you're a short-term cycle trader or whatever, you're going to be looking for scalp trades, whatever it is you're doing, that's exactly what you're going to do. And that's fine. But for those people who are in it for the long haul, they're the only ones that get this. So, all right. Let's look and see. Yeah, let's see what we got. I see you out there, Dan. When will the OA drop another bone with a bit of meat on it, just to see what we're ready to pump or not? I don't know. I suppose what you're talking about is the amount of value that the OA might bring in, to see what happens with the market. And a lot of criticism out there that I'm hearing from people about, hey, why doesn't the OA come in and buy our bags? Well, the problem is that that's a one-time thing. It's just like with us. If you take your dry bag, your dry powder, you dump it all into something, and the guy next to you sells it all, you just spent all your powder. So I think something more organic is necessary over time, and perhaps perhaps the OA is thinking the same thing. Pump it when it's ready. We'll know when people are willing to hold. Maybe it won't pump at all. Maybe it's all us. T. Finach. I feel that protecting myself from myself is and always will be the greatest feature HEX, and referring to the staked HEX. I agree with you on that. Therefore, the drop in yield bothers me very little in the grand scheme of things, to be honest. I have to concur. I mean, I think all of us come into the game at different angles and different times. And so if you came into crypto with the expectation you're going to put $1,000 in and you're going to walk away with $1 million, in a few months, yeah, it's hard. There's going to be, there's some expectations there that probably aren't going to be met. You might get lucky. But I mean, just think about it. In reality, everybody can't come in with $1,000 and cash out 1 million. It's just not possible, right? Um, so by definition, there are going to be people who are not going to be happy with the outcome. Um, However, if you had come into the whole HEX ecosystem and you had bought into the use case of HEX being setting up long-term staking ladders, delaying gratification, um, you have quite a spread potentially of hex stakes that come out on some yearly, quarterly, or monthly basis. And if that's the case, then it's not that painful. I mean, it all depends on you're how you're set up in the game. And if you're already a believer and you're thinking long term, you're eyeballing the 100,000 hex you're going to get, in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years out as a pretty good thing at $1. You know, and so yeah, I mean it's and if you have peace with how you've been set up, if you're at peace with your staking ladder, you don't even have an inkling like you need to emergency unstake, right? Well, why would you emergency unstake? You got Hex coming out in the future. You believe in crypto. You believe in the crypto can go up and to the right. You believe in the adoption, in general. So yeah, yeah. Um, Glock Maddox. I've asked myself this question tons of times, man. Been asking myself recently, have we all actually been conned with numbers and stats? Yeah, yeah. I don't think we've been conned, but yeah, I know what you mean though. You know, because I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm like, at the end of the day, does some of it matter? You know, and that's the argument you get from the price appreciation guys. But I think with while things have changed because the OA is taking actions, we do see them. They're transparent. We know what to expect. I just think there's tons and tons of opportunity for the ecosystem, across the boards with all the reduction and yield, right, and rewards. I think there's lots of opportunity for there to be even higher price appreciation. But remember, guys, at the end of the day, it always comes down to the users, right? If more people buy than sell, price goes up. I mean, until somebody comes up with something more magical than buying and selling and swapping of hex, or I mean, you know, come up with a different use case that's provides value to people that encourages them to burn more of whatever token, whether it's X or whatever. I mean, until then, we're still back to supply dynamics. Right? Clockmatics, even if the price doesn't eventually go up over X number of days, the answer becomes more yes. I see your point. Yeah. I see your point. And so the more time that passes without some sort of price appreciation, certainly the more pain people feel. That's why I keep coming back to these longer time frames. The idea that it's really like a quattro cinco type of a cycle, like a rolling 15-year type of a cycle. All right. Yep. A pulse chain guy saying the price will eventually come. We're all waiting for the rest of the market. This bull will eventually wake up. I concur with that. I mean, it always feels crappy in these things. I mean, this is my third cycle. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's hard to explain to the new guys to have faith. I mean, new people have faith in crypto because maybe they're right. Maybe things will be different this time. But in the past, we're there for was there and watched I watched Bitcoin go from under 1,000 to 3K and then come back down and then from 3K up to 20K and come back down to 3 and then from 3 to 60 and come back down to 20, and now we watched it go up to 100. And where's it going to go from here? Is it going to come down to 60, 70? I don't know. But the experience with crypto, and I use Bitcoin as the example, has been every time it hit that bottom, it was dead. It was over. It was over. And so now this feels very similar with Pulse Chain and with Hex. It's over. But we're only so many years into this, and so what happens? What happens when you get your 10x, your 100x, your 1500x, whatever it is? What happens then? You're like on top of the world. This is the most wonderful thing, and then you have another cycle where it goes down, and then it's dead again, right? Everybody says it's dead. So the only thing I can do is really, really kind of watch what's happening and monitor and see where it all goes. All right. Shell Fox. How are you, Shell? The best thing about stakes is no one can say you simply got lucky in the future. That's true. That's true. It wasn't necessarily 100% about timing. That's for sure. Um, it's on-chain proof that you understand and trust the code and positioned accordingly. That's true. Yeah, David Gelfand saying, yeah, 2% APY. Yeah, I don't know what it's actually going to calculate out to be. So let's wait and see what it comes out to be, because I don't know. I don't know what the exact number will be, but yeah, you might get that more in your checking account. Well, listen, there were some people that were making the argument that the APY needed to be lower for TradFi to believe, you know, and so perhaps that's real, It certainly means that for in order for people to stake, and I don't, I feel pretty good about my Quattro Cinco staking, um, but it's tough, man. It's tough, right? I mean, you tell somebody, hey, you should lock up and think about this, but here's the thing: is I'm not thinking about HEX going up 3x or even 10x in 15 years. I'm thinking about going up 100x, 1000x. And so being locked into the system in a lot of ways could be very good in that case, with those kinds of that kind of price appreciation. Um, yeah, I mean, it's the game, right? Are we getting enough? Are we getting enough yield and rewards? Getting the price appreciation? Bob's child. Uh, he did a poll. 7 people still believers, bearing in mind the eccentric eccentricity of my group. Yeah, you have a pretty eccentric group. Um, I think I've seen pretty much, a major split. I mean, it's probably people that I know 70-30, like 30% still full believe. It's hard. It's hard to put up with all this, right? Um, uh, Prospector, let's not say that. I don't know. Yeah, well, yeah, you're referring to emergency instincts. If you thought getting the yield cut in half is bad, wait till the principal is half too. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think you mean emergency end stakes, that you might lose 50% of your emergency end stake. Yeah. Hey, listen, I threw out for fun. I threw out the idea. People were talking about the yield and rewards, and just how far down things have gone. And I threw out for fun. What if tomorrow, 50,000 validators spin up, right? and cut and cut the rewards for being a validator by 50%. That would be pretty interesting. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. QC Organics is mentioning Desi. Yeah, dude. Desi's still being. I assume you're male, but that's because I'm looking at QC. But whoever you are, QC, because I don't know. Um, yeah, Desi's still like this huge deal. It's got very low liquidity, but assuming that the Desi contract from Maximus DAO works as planned, and that you're able to get your hex out of it, the Desi has been running at a discount to hex, while the NAV is like 40% higher, right? And the NAV being the net asset value. So for those of us who are interested in that, it's like a 40% given. That your value should be 40% higher at the end stake, and the should be is where people get hung up, right? They don't go after it for that reason. Another protocol. I'll do a video probably soon on Actuator, um, which is a different protocol out there where people are able to borrow against their HSIs. they're selling. They have a token or a series of tokens called HTT tokens, and these HTT tokens represent future HEX that comes out. It's selling at like 70% discount, some of them 50% discount. Where in the future you're promised 1 HEX per token, but the current ratio to buy it is like a third of a HEX. So there's some pretty good opportunities out there, but you have to want to go after these side plays, and it's complicated and hard to understand. You know, it's not stuff that all of us just inherently get, right off the top. What else we got? If you guys have any questions, you want me to show something in particular, I'll pull it up on the chart, throw it out there. Yeah, Danny boy, this is kind of how a lot of us feel, just ride or die, right? It's kind of like the YOLO, you know. Yep, stakers may just receive airdrops in the future as a reward instead. That's possible. I know several projects that have airdropped off the stakers. All right. Do we have any single-sided staking for HEX that's comparable? Single-sided staking for HEX that's comparable. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of what I've seen out there, as far as what you would call single-sided. The Up and Up X guys are coming up with a new protocol that they're putting out called LPX, where you can put similar like a V3 position. You can just put one side in, and that protocol will trade back and forth in order to earn value. So that would be an example of single-sided staking. Another thing is V3 itself. Some people will do that, but I'm hopeful that we are going to see something from PulseX that'll do that. And I see Johnny. I must not have been seeing the right stuff. What's up, Johnny?
No, you were doing fine. I was just observing.
I'll bring you up, make you the same size. You were like little on my screen. They changed.
Tiny, and
They changed everything on this software against StreamYard. So what are you thinking, man? This is pretty exciting stuff, or what? Or just like another ho hum?
I think there's a little experimentation going around to see what the right combination is to get the right outcome, sort of thing. I think it all get worked through eventually. It's just it's interesting because people are looking at today's value and they're like, oh, I'm only getting 2 HEX a T-share. That's less than two, that's like 2 cents, right? Well, at one time, a 60-cent T-share at the top was getting you 60 cents a day. Not even at the top. It was like when it hit 10 cents, that 60-cent T-share was paying you 6 HEX per day per T-share, and that was 60 cents a day. So every day you had that T-share, you were getting paid for that T-share. So we could see another sort of scenario like that possibly in the future. The same thing with like, you're earning HEX today at today's prices, yes, but that doesn't mean you have to sell them at today's prices. So very much like mining Bitcoin for 50-cent blocks, right? You get 50 Bitcoin for a penny a piece. It's 50-cent blocks. Well, it didn't seem like that much. Wouldn't you like to have 50 Bitcoin today? I
Oh yeah.
bet you would.
Well, remember with the launch of HEX, what was the initial payout was like one, right? It was 1 HEX
One,
per
yeah.
T-share. So it's been very
And we
similar to that. Yeah.
and we basically reset that. I mean, really, now we have like a baseline level. This is like the minimum amount of payout you can get with the OA staking to its full functionality, and it can only go up because of the baseline. So the baseline can only really go up from here. So, yeah, is the AI a real? No, I'm here, Maddie.
This is not real. No, your mother, you numbers aren't real. That's right. We're reptilians. Don't worry about it. Right. So, hey, somebody did put a question up here about auctions for HSIs. Yeah. Hey, I want to bring this up. Within 2 days, I think you got to go check the Hedron Icosa area if you're interested
Don't
in that
tell them
type of
about
thing.
that. I'm bidding on it.
if you're interested in this, there's an awful lot of T-shares coming out next couple days. So. So that may drive the whole Hedron price up a little bit. So yeah, I agree with you on the whole reset, man. I think it's going to be quite interesting. I'm really happy for the people who are already in Hex, because I think it really sets up for like this incredible future, right? For anybody who already has their stakes set, particularly if you can let yourself believe that some extreme price appreciation. I'm even more excited for the community itself, but I do acknowledge it's more tough, to get people to say, hey, staking's any type of a good idea, you know.
Well, then again, you look at what the OA did. It reduced basically to 1/4. Okay. So you 4x the price, your daily payout is the same as it was. So,
And
people don't
dollar
take
terms, yeah.
that. Yeah, people don't take that into consideration. And again, you are if you've got a 15-year stake, you should be counting units, you're not exactly price, because you're not in a position to sell anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's like if you do a trade show or convention or something, right? You might work all year on building units of whatever it is that you're going to sell, and you're only going to sell that one time a year, right? So during the meantime, you're not going, oh my gosh, nobody wants to buy these. It's like, no, you're planning for an event, and at that period of time, that's the period in time that the market price is really going to concern you. So yeah, and there's no Robo Johnny.
Robo Johnny. Woo. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. We'll see how this all goes. I mean, listen, recency bias is terrible.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just that combined with the sudden wealth syndrome. I mean, we got number bias, we got recency bias, sudden wealth syndrome.
consistent consistency bias. That's the
Yeah,
best one.
I mean, you got all sorts of stuff going on for sure.
You got
Um,
unit bias. Don't forget unit bias. See that's another thing too, because the way it's broken down in units, right? All
mhm.
right, fine. You're making 2 hex per day per T-share. Well, that's not anything. It's only worth a penny. What if it was worth $1? Would you like that then? If had 100 T-shares and then you were making $2 a day, how do you know it's not going to be $1 in the future? How do you know all this hex that you're mining at 2 cents now, by the time your stake is due, that it won't be worth $1 each, right? So you've got to put the time in the equation.
Yeah, but Johnny, you can't guarantee it. That's the problem.
No, no, you can't guarantee it.
That's
But see,
hey,
here's the thing. You can't, the only thing you can guarantee is whether or not you have a bag when we find out what the prices are going to be in the future.
yeah,
You can be one of those people that sold your Bitcoin for $1 or your Ethereum for $5 or whatever. You could be one of those people because you're thinking that this is it. This is all. We've had one cycle. One cycle.
and it's only
Heck,
one third. It's only one third of a hex cycle.
and it's only 1/3 of the 555. So we've had one cycle in Hex. Pulse and PulseX aren't even 2 years old yet. So they're not even considered a viable network by the mainstream at all. So we're not even 2 years old yet. Do you want something established or do you want to chase something new? I mean, there's always something new to chase, and you'll
Mhm.
find yourself in there with the same people that chased the last new thing.
Getting
And
jo-
they're going to be followed by the next new thing, right? But
getting
something
chopped
that's
up. Yeah.
established, it is established. Everybody knows what Hex is, whether they like it or not. They know it's there. And when it decides that it's going to move, it's going to move and people are going to notice. A lot of these other things, people aren't going to notice. They don't even know what's going on Pulse Chain. They don't care what's going on Pulse Chain. And that's the problem. People don't understand that. We have such a, a a bias of our own that we're on our own little private island. We think, oh yeah, sure, everybody's going to know it's great over here. Well, we can tell them all we want, but make it across that bridge and learning new information isn't as easy. We take for granted the amount of information we have. Oh, well, you just bridge. These people aren't even using self-sovereign wallets yet. They're still keeping their coins on exchanges, the
Yeah.
majority of them. So we can't expect them to catch up. We are 3 years ahead of the crypto space. We will continue to be 3 years ahead of the crypto space. When we did DeFi, when we were doing DeFi before the DeFi that they, and DeFi and name came out, um, you know, they were all, we were burning coins before Ethereum had Ethereum 2.0. We were already burning coins. We were already using those burning functionalities because when you stake, you burn your coins, right? So technically, guys, if you're staked, you don't have any HEX to sell anyway. You have T-shares. So you should be looking at the T-share price. And while you're at it, look at the T-share price, what it's going to cost you to replace those once you give them up. Because that's what's important. Because once you lose those T-shares, look at what your replacement cost is. Because your replacement cost is way higher than the value that you're looking at of what your T-shares actually are. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
but I don't care. You can all emergency unstake it. I'll take your share. I'm
Yeah,
good with
no.
it.
We don't want them. We don't want them to, but they can if they want to, you know. I think that's a big deal. Let me show you this. I made this for you.
For me,
Maybe not just for you, but just taking a look at these t-shirts. You know, we look in 29, 30. We have that big
yeah,
the big amount that are going to come out. And so
yeah,
originally, this is what we were looking at for t-shares, and it's a very, very specific period of time, October to April.
hmm
So October 29 through April, and this is what we had for t-shirts that were out there. And so now we have had some emergency end stakes, but they haven't been crazy numbers. But there have been
because the
emergency end stakes.
value. It's
So
because the value's down, right?
yeah,
So
so
I
we
mean,
had.
go
Yeah, I
ahead.
mean, we've only had 180,000 emergency end stake, but I think this is the universe of what's possible for emergency end stakes right here. This is what remains out in that time frame. Um, so there's quite a bit of T-shares that could come out if people get shook for whatever reason, right?
I like the
And
random pinata theory too because the OA is making separate stakes. So
yeah, yeah,
it could be interesting. Now, no expectations, but people were talking about how technically the OA cannot set the ratios at this point in time. And I want people to keep in mind when I said what the parity thing, parity and then parody as in comedy. Uh, the parity thing was something that I was talking about before the ratios even existed, before there was a pulse chain. So you're going way back for everybody pulling that parity comment. And what I had said was that the OA has the ability to set the ratio at any point that it wants, whether it wants to make a premium or whether or not he wants one to be discounted. It has the ability to do that because it has the coins. At the moment, it doesn't have the coins. So it can't just interfere and set the ratio where its preference is. Okay, it can't enforce its idea of what it should be, right? So, however, with the random pinata theory, technically, if the OA were to an emergency unstake one of these 15-year stakes and redistribute it to the community at random, then it would receive half of those coins back, and that would give them coins if they wanted to at a later date reinforce the ratio at whatever level that it's at.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I
So
get you.
it can do that. And random pinata theory, I think, would be really funny too if you had to be in. The only way to catch these random days where these random payouts would be extremely high would be you'd had to be a believer. You would have had to be in because there's no way to figure out when the OA might push a button and decide to emergency unstake to know what day your payout's going to be. And on those particular days, you could see payouts that are 10 times normal levels, right?
Hmm.
So that's kind of the kicker. Um, Now I'm not saying that it will do that. However, I think that would cause quite a stir in the community if these random stakes just would randomly EES at certain times because everybody used to get really, really excited when there was a spike in the daily payout. They'd get really, really excited, like, oh, look, we got 10x, we got 10 today. They used to get really excited about that. And that was really good for our marketing, right? It gave people something to be excited about. So I would not rule that out, that it's a possibility as more stakers come in, uh, because people aren't utilizing the system as it was designed. Uh, so the OA has put those stakes out there, but I can see that being, a way to redistribute to believers, uh, and still have coins available to adjust ratios at a later date. Make
Yeah, I
sense?
think yeah, it does make sense to me. I think all these things are possible. I just don't know what's likely.
We
Is
don't
that
know. We
is
don't
that,
know.
is
Welcome
that
to the
way?
world of speculation.
Yeah, exactly. It's all spec because I'm like, well, this could happen, that could happen, but I have to go based on what I've actually seen. And I won't get into the details here, but I mean, God, I've been watching the stakes for 5 years, and there's a lot of weird stuff out there. Like why do people do what they do? Who are they? You know, I mean, who are the people? Who are the people even now that are staking? 1, 2, 3 hex? Are those contracts? Are they automated? Don't know. Don't know. It's just like all sorts of very, very strange things that I see. Whether it has to do with like lots of stakes that are done that are very small, lots of emergency end stakes, or even even the good accountings that get done. I mean, there's just it's just, and it's all there. It's available for people to go do the research on, but it because it is transparent. But I mean, it's very hard to get your head around what the overall thing's going to be. But
Yeah, see, if one of those stakes were to emergency unstake, you could get spikes, but the rest of the 555 stakes would still absorb that. So again, it's all stuff which is in the framework of the system that can be done. Um, and we don't know whether or not they're permanently going to be out there for forever, or if this is one of those things. As more people come in and stake, the OA might release some of those positions, like rationing the T shares out instead of uh, instead of wasting the potential. Right?
mhm.
Uh, it can adjust to accommodate. If you haven't noticed, OA had stakes before, but basically it kept it around 10% of the total supply staked, and that was kind of the number that it kind of held. It dropped below 10 there for a little bit, but uh, it basically held that level. So now we're trying the other extreme. We're seeing how the other extreme affects the system, right?
Yeah,
A lot of people were like, "Oh, well, Richard has too many coins; he can sell on our heads." Well, not anymore. So there's
yeah.
that.
You can't use that excuse now,
Yeah.
right?
And people said, well, the interest is too high. It's people are getting too many coins. Well, not anymore. So those arguments are being tested now. So it could go back to the way it was. We don't know. We don't know what the future plans of that is. It could burn all of that. It could burn it. It has the ability to burn it.
Well, to that point, there's a question that came up, which is from latest, asking whether
Mhm.
we're talking about the billions of hex sent to the burn address. So latest, to my knowledge, no hex has been sent to the quote unquote burn address, as in being burned, not to be used again. What's happened is staking has taken place. And because when that's really so,
Maybe
for those
stake
who
and
don't
burn.
know, the zero address on these contracts, right? Hex only allows sending to the zero address if you do a stake. And so when that happens, it shows up as burned, right? And so that's at least how the chain sees it, as burned. But it's not truly burned because it gets recreated later when that stake is ended on time or whatever, which is different
Oh,
than
it's
the
out of the system. It's out of the system. New hex is minted. So
yeah.
that is really burned. It's out of the system. It's gone. And people need to understand, with 95% of all the hex staked, that means only 5% is circulating supply now.
Yeah,
Only,
it's semantics in that definition, what burned means versus how it
yeah.
affects supply. Because a lot of people just assume, well, if it got burned, that means the total supply dropped. It doesn't drop. right?
No, because it comes back because you're getting that hex back plus if you serve your term,
But
or
potentially you might.
it's redistributed to the other stakers. So it's always accounted for.
Yeah,
Ever minted hex is always accounted for,
yeah, yeah.
because the T-share rate is based on ever minted hex, the most hex ever minted.
Yeah, here's a question for you from Wealth asking about a top holder analysis. That might be useful to get back into and do that. But I don't think get, getting the information to know who the top holders are.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know what you're asking here.
yeah.
You got a chart for that or something?
No, I don't. I don't prepared to bring it up, but if somebody was asking about it, it'd be kind of interesting. Like I do the rich list for Hex, but I don't have it up, just showing who has the most Hex and what the IDs are and all that. Shell Fox was asking about how much would Mercy End Stake actually pay out. So if we have 50 billion, anybody have the current number of T-shares that are out there? I'm just going to use a 32 million for an example. We have to have a 50 billion hex stake. If that was emergency end stake, and let's just assume is a complete bust, right? So half of it would go to the OA. So that'd be 25 billion would go back to the OA. The other 25 billion would go out uh,
Stakers.
to stakers. And then if we divide that 25 billion by, let's just say 32 million T-shares, just as an example, because I don't have the
Hmm.
number at the top of my finger, top of my head, that would be 781 hex per T-share.
Yeah.
And so that's good for me because I've got T-shares. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a little bit of a drip. It's more than normal, but it's just a little bit of drip to all the existing stakers that are out there, because who wouldn't want another 781 T-shares, or excuse me, 781 hex per T-share? But even if you had 1,000 T-shares, which is a lot of T-shares, that's still less than 1 million hex for a payout. So it's not something that breaks the bank, and of course all that gets spread out against all the existing holders that are out there. And on top of that, at this point, probably, I don't know, maybe two thirds 75% are OA holders.
Hmm.
They would actually get both ends, right? So it would be it's a cool theory, because um, if the OA really wanted to reward people who've stayed in, I don't know how this would play. Man, everybody would bitch, I'm sure.
The random pinata.
Yeah, but I mean, if we really wanted to reward the hex stakers who've stayed in, then yeah, emergency end stake, because you basically have this like laser focus on those who believe the hardest would get the most benefit from those emergency end stakes. But it wouldn't be so much. It wouldn't be so much that it blows up the system.
No, because it's only a 1 day payout. And of course, it's only accredited to stakers who are already staking. So who knows when their stakes end? And it's going to be weighted towards the 15-year because they get the 3x multiplier. So the majority of those emergency unstakes go out 15 years anyway. So, but yeah, it's basically an extra credit to the account for the believers if the emergency unstakes would occur, and they have to once again finish their terms in order to claim that reward. Because if they don't, it gets deferred and it gets sent out to the other stakers if they emergency unstake and they don't complete the terms that they set. So it just gets passed along again to the believers that are doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah, 100%. So Logi 33 was just asking, are we talking about the OA ending the latest stake? They ended 30-day stakes earlier today and then restaked, is what we're talking
For
about.
like 1,000 days, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a variety of different days and
Oh,
stuff.
is it?
And I think
I
that's
saw
what's
the one. I saw the one for the 1,000 days. Reason I was watching your show today, I wasn't planning on participating on your show today, is because I was getting updated on what has just happened. Because I'm really, honestly, not paying that damn much attention to it. I kind of got my position, and I'm good with it, and let it roll. You
yeah,
know.
no, that's a good position to be in. Um, yeah, I feel much the same myself. T. Finach was saying, being there's no direct link between burning and price increase, I don't want to
Yeah.
see any tokens burned at all. And that is a true comment, Finach. Quote unquote, in burning of tokens, doesn't matter what token we're talking about, but taking it off the market.
You
Yes,
can burn as much as you want. If nobody wants them, nobody wants them. You can burn as much as you want. A lot of
yeah, it
tokens
doesn't drive the
boast about their burning mechanisms. It doesn't matter. The only thing that makes price go up is if people are interested in clicking the buy button and they're less interested in clicking the sell button. That is the only thing. And that is what Hex was designed around, was for people to primarily buy it, burn it, create their T-shares, and send that Hex off into the future. But if people don't want to utilize it that way, then it doesn't matter. So we have poor price performance because people want to do liquidity farming. They want to chase this thing. They want to chase that thing. There's always grass is greener on the other side, you know. But I have a feeling that, just like that slot machine, you always come back to at the end of the night on your last dollar because you lost your money screwing around in the casino. But you remember that one slot machine that paid you once. You're going to go back and you're going to drop your last dollar in it because it did right by you once, right?
my last 15 cents.
Yeah,
Hey, on that point though, too, about the whole burning. For those who might be wondering, well, why does everybody talk about buy and burn if it doesn't help? Buy and burn does help.
that's different.
Buy, it's a little bit different. Just straight up burning just means that you move some tokens into a different column. Doesn't mean the price went up. But in the terms of PulseX, or even pump.tires, if you're actually going and buying something off the market, in the case of PulseX, and then you turn around and burn those tokens, you've increased the ratio, right? You've changed the ratio, made it more valuable, more scarce. And so that's what Johnny's saying is long term. If people still want, PulseX for some reason, that's very, very useful. If nobody ever bought another PulseX, what difference does it make? Just be holding it, and yeah, I guess on paper would go up in value. Um,
And Hex has the original buy and burn. You buy it, you burn it, you get your T-shares. Hex had the original buy and
mm,
burn,
mm,
So Pulse is the network, Pulse X is the chain, or Pulse X is the exchange, and Hex is the endpoint. So, I think people have really overlooked Hex because they wanted to buy Richard's new coin because they figured the new coin has the best option to go 10,000x, and they didn't take into consideration that maybe the established coin that people actually have easier access to might be the one that ends up dominating everything. And
oh
not
God,
to mention how the ratios are actually built too, right? And the ratios and the routing is very important, and the endpoints. So if you notice, Hex is worth a lot of pulse, right? Pulse X and Pulse are about worth the same, but Hex is worth a lot of Pulse. So if you're making Hex, you'd be getting 200-300 Pulse for each Hex that you make.
that's a
So,
good way to look at it. Yeah, yeah. Well, DJ Cryptomatic, he's
oh,
he is
troublemaker there.
our roller skating DJ from the '80s, right? And his streams. He's mentioning Dev Huey just posted the top holders list is very interesting. How few hex they hold.
Oh yeah,
How few hex they hold.
I bet there are a lot of large people that have completely abandoned Hex on Ethereum.
Oh God,
And
yeah,
I am very, very happy that they are gone. May they never come back. That's how I feel about it.
no, they can come back. I want them to come
No,
back.
no, no, no. They don't need to come back ever. Nope.
Well, that's
They
your
can
opinion.
stay.
My opinion is I'd be happy for them to come back because they're going to have to buy iron.
No.
So, but yeah, you're
I
right.
want them to stand by with an empty bag and tears in their eyes 10 years from now. That's what I want.
I
That
sold
is
all
what
my
I want.
hex, man.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know, I know, I know. Oh, all right. What else? Anything else you want to add? We should talk about before we wrap up. I mean, I'm
I
just
don't know. I just clicked the link and showed up on your show because you asked me.
I know my head's spinning. I mean, there's no action to take. Like I said earlier, there's no action for me to take. It's not like I'm going to
No.
run and go sell my EHEX. I'm not going to go run and sell my PHEX. I'm not going to merge the end stake. I'm just going to watch what's
What do,
going down.
what do you think about people getting all worked up over the SEC extension?
I think it's just silly. I think it was
you know,
I think it was another opportunity for wash, rinse, repeat. That's all.
yeah, I think it's funny because it's like they literally thought they had a case to begin with. They presented everything they could possibly think of and put the kitchen sink to throw at it, right? All the typical haters bullshit and all the stuff, and they thought they really had a case. And the judge literally said, nope, 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 all the way down their list in the rebuttal. So literally, when it says failure to state a claim, and it was dismissed based on 12.6b, what that means, okay, even if all of their claims were true, they call it paraphasia, on their face, all those claims being uh, believed on their face, right? Um, Even if all those claims were believed, it still wasn't enough evidence to seek a legal remedy, which means there is no legal remedy for it. It's you're wasting the court's time. Even if all of those claims were true, you don't have a claim. That's literally what was said. It's like, oh, well, let us go back and write a completely new claim. Well, what kind of bullshit are you going to make up there? You couldn't even prove the first set of bullshit that you came up with to begin with. How are you supposed to? What are you going to make up? Well, Richard was under alien influence, and we believe that makes it a security. I mean, what else are they going to come up with at that
Reptilian
point?
though.
Yeah,
Reptilian though.
whatever. It's just, and the only thing I could possibly think of was the new approach to try to define jurisdiction as saying, and I realize it's not a valid claim, but obviously they weren't making valid claims to begin with, which is why it got dismissed,
Listen,
right?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this is saying a lot. Half our community could have written a better complaint, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's a lot because it was like terrible. Between the misinterpretations, misspelling, misfacts. I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, but Soul had put up Jay Soul had just put this up saying, "Hey, it's face save time," and I think there might be something to that. I mean, if you were the SEC, you might be like,
So they're going to get their ass whooped twice.
yeah,
They ain't saving
we
no
look
face.
really bad. We look really bad. And maybe we need to at least show our bosses that we're trying to get this thing over the finish
They
line. But
should have walked out. They should have walked right away and not, dude. They just threw everything they had in the kitchen sink and lost. Okay. This is like getting your ass whooped and going back and, all right, I'm going to go back in the ring. And you never even got a punch off, right? Let's do it again. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I don't know on what planet they're going to how they can possibly rewrite anything. The Richard's attorneys basically said, we really don't understand how they intend to save this mess, when literally the judge just went through and said, even if all that was true, you still don't have a case. So now what? So where's your claim now? You know, even if we granted you that everything that you said was true, it's not enough for a legal remedy. So there's nothing to pursue here. So they can rewrite a complaint again, but it's just going to waste more of the court's time. It's going to waste more of the judge's time. I would be mad as hell if I was that judge, and I specifically told them, if you can amend this in good faith, not just because you want to carry out the case or you want to save face, if you can amend this in good faith, I'll give you 20 days. And then they're like, well, now we need another 30 days. Look, I think she was plenty generous enough giving you the first 20 days to fix the mess that you presented, which has no relevance whatsoever, got totally tossed out. She told you, she went through point by point and told you the deficiencies of it, right? So it's like, it's insulting. It's insulting to the judge's decision. They are challenging the judge's decision, saying, no, 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 Your Honor, there really is a case here. We know you just dismissed it, but there really is a case here. And they're going to go back in there again with what? So Honestly, I'm amused. I mean, you can't get any better entertainment than this. We're going to have a new AI court hearing. We're going to get to hear them weasel around and try to make claims again and just get their ass whooped by Richard's elite attorney team. I mean, you can't ask for much better entertainment than that. But for people to get upset and quit right now, it's like, for real? Or are they just doing the short-term thing where they're like, oh, I'm just waiting. I bought just before this, and I'm going to sell on the news. Oh, it didn't go up immediately. I'm selling on the news anyway. And they're going to get in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out during this whole thing. This could go on for years. They can keep doing this dumb shit for years. They won't win, but, they can tie this shit up for quite some time.
100%. Like Sizzle says, who believes the hardest, right? Who believes the hardest?
I mean, look, if they arrest Richard and throw him in a jail cell, which they can't, it's a civil case. If they arrested him and threw him in a jail, then what? OA staked anyway. I guess we're not getting any emergency unstakes. What more do you want? Right? The OA doesn't have the coins to dump on your head right now anyway. What exactly in the system changes? 47,000 validators all over the world are running Pulse Chain. Richard doesn't own a single validator. So what exactly does that change? What does that have to do with us at all? Nothing. The only thing that he's not streaming anyway, right? He is a fraction of the percentage of the actual content that's out there, right? Nobody's seen him in person for years. Nobody's even seen him on a live stream for years. So what exactly are why are we worried about this? You realize people have gotten away from the fundamentals of cryptocurrency. It's censorship resistant, right? We're not supposed to be censored. We're supposed to be self-sovereign, right? We're supposed to be decentralized. We're not supposed to depend on any entity to do the work for us, okay? It's supposed to be unstoppable, which it is if it's properly decentralized. So nobody cares about this stuff anymore. They just want to buy their meme coin, yet they'll buy a meme coin that literally nobody knows who the hell made it. And that's okay. But Richard made something good, and now he's being attacked because he made this thing. And now everybody thinks that affects their bag for some reason. But yet they'll buy a meme coin that probably some 12-year-old made in their basement on pump tires with 2 clicks. And they've just got them and all their school friends on there going, yeah, buy this one. It's the greatest. And you guys are buying right into that shit. Or, ooh, look, Richard also made this one. Buy this one too. But yet when it comes to HEX, Pulse Chain, Pulse X, it can't survive without Richard. Well, if it can't survive without Richard, go buy something else. And you tell me who that can't survive without.
Exactly.
What can't that survive without?
So I use the wash, rinse, repeat comment because I think that, there are people, there are entities out there, they want you to drop, right? They want you to sell. Yeah. And so you guys always have to remember there's a little psyops going on all the time between this stuff. And, maybe those people watching us right now, they might not be the ones that would do this, but there are people that will dump with one wallet in order to buy with another. We've seen it. It's not just on Pulse Chain. Right? Yeah. It's everywhere. And so, and what's the purpose of that? They're trying to get that fractional difference in price. Just whatever it is to just increase the number of their units. And if they have big enough reach to make it happen, they do it. I don't know if that's correct, legal, whatever, but that
unethical, but perfectly legal. And guys, Matcha has limit orders again. You can put limit orders again on CalSwap.
Yeah.
Okay, so be aware that those tools are now active again for HEX. Now, there are exchanges and stuff that allow you to do limit orders on Pulse Chain. But the things that people are utilizing most in the city of Ethereum that has 10 million users when we only have 10,000 daily users, in Ethereum land, there is CalSwap that allows you to do time-weighted averages and limit orders. And you also have Matcha. We are relisted on Matcha. We are once again relisted on Uniswap, which I will tell you right away that our closer to the door thing was really shut off Because again, you have to realize that the average person, if they go to Uniswap and they don't see it or they get a warning or a whatever, they're done, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
to have that relisted like it should be, as it should be, makes a big difference on, once again, being closer to the door, the easier access point. Okay. So this is why we're seeing a lot of resilience in the EHEX side, right? Because the believers, the all gun-ho Richard Hart people are over Pulse Chain, right? And that's where the most damage is going to happen, because people have already migrated. So that's where you see the most of the damage, and you see a lot of resilience on the Ethereum side, not only just because of the lower amount of supply, but also the fact that, it is closer to the door. So that's where you're seeing the resilience there.
Yeah, I think there's some reality to that. You've always been talking about that. Hey, thanks for the super chat there. Hex Wizard 369, keep holding. We are going to win. Judge Carroll will shut the SEC down again. I think that'll be true.
And I don't know what's going on with the Panos thing. I have him blocked for some reason. He said something to piss me off or another, so I've got him blocked, so I didn't really pay that much attention to that. I know he's working with the OKX relisting. He's one of those people that has some contacts in there. Good for him. Good on him. I'm sure I'm one of the people that he was probably mad at, too, because basically I said, relist, refund, or lawyer up.
Mm.
I think that's just very direct. That isn't slanderous. That isn't anything. That is relist, refund, or lawyer up, right? If they took the community's money, I know there was some explanation on how much was saved, and I'd have to get back with Crypto Coffee and talk to him a little bit about that. But yeah, I mean, we cannot, as a community, sit around and let these people tread all over us, period, right? As a business, yes, they have a right to do. But see, here's the thing. There was an agreement made, and then it was undone. That's different, right? That's different. Plus, there was money raised, right? So that hurts the community. Uniswap on listing, we harassed the shit out of them, yeah. And they relisted just as soon as the case was dropped. They relisted, no problem, right?
Yeah.
So
that was good.
You got to give them credit where credit is due, because they did the right thing.
I appreciated that,
And CalSwap, for instance, never unlisted us. They never unlisted us. They never tried to take any steps to prevent people from trading in a decentralized manner. So CalSwap needs their props for never delisting us, right? Matcha also delisted us, right? But, this is a lot of covering your own. And I can understand that. I will give OKX that, or not OK. Was it OKX? No, Mexi. It was Mexi. I know OKX. I don't know what the deal was with our listing on OKX. I think that was probably originally something that Richard had set up, because he was the first one to kind of announce that we would have that listing on OKX. I don't know what's going on there, and he can handle it. It's his coin. Where I was angry was the community had donated funds to Crypto Coffee, which Crypto Coffee did use the funds as he said he would, right? Holding up his part. And the exchange did list as they said they would, holding up their part. But now all of a sudden we had kind of a breach of contract where the terms were just not met. And I'd have to go over the contract and really look over it, what was signed and stuff. And I haven't had time to do that because I got like a real life. But the point is, I think it's fair that they relist, refund, or lawyer up. That's it.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the details either, so know whether or not they fulfilled their terms or not. But that's the whole point, right? I mean, these are for-profit businesses,
Right. But I mean, if
because,
I say I'm going to build something, or I'm going to advertise, or I'm going to put a billboard up for somebody or something, I'm going to follow through on my part, right? If you have an agreement, you have an agreement. Special circumstances had arise. They were trying to cover their own. That's fine. But I don't like the part where they say, okay, give us more money. That was the part was, it sounded like an extortion racket where they're like, give us more money, right? Oh yeah, we'll gladly fix what we said we'd do in the first part if you give us more money. And that's what it sounded like.
just give us more. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, if they don't relist, they can forget about anybody ever being nice to them. Right now, they're like, oh, but your community's toxic. Oh, you think we're toxic now? You will burn forever if you don't do what's right. So, hey, deal with it. That is how it is. There's nothing you can do either because it's decentralized. It's not like there's just one person out here cracking a whip and telling everybody to go at you. No, you upset a very, very large community. If you don't do something to address that, your name is mud. There's nothing you can do about it. I can't. If I go right now and I say, everybody go be kind to MEXC, nobody's going to give a shit. They're still going to do that. We've got no control. We've got no control over what individuals do on X. If you want that to go away, you have to create your own solution to that.
Yeah. I see that happen quite a bit. People talk about that.
Yeah.
Like they assume that because one person says something, it's a whole community, but it's not.
Yeah. And because they've never seen a community like this. They've never seen this many individuals this active, this passionate in their community, that they are on Twitter every day making posts about things. Now, look, this can be a very, very powerful and beneficial thing if you're doing the right things. If you're working with us, you get the support of the community. If you're working against us, well, Lord help you. What can I say? Look, I say things that are unpopular. I've got people with Hexagon logos threatening me. So, I can't stop it, right? I can't help it that we've got a lot of fair weather people that, just because the price is performing good, they put on their HEX jersey and they're all excited to be part of the winning team. And as soon as the market takes a downtrend, they're ripping up the shirt, throwing it down on the ground, forgetting to even remove the logo off their name. And they're saying, Johnny, I'll stab you. Okay. Right on, bro.
Well. All right. Yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm pretty excited about everything in general. All right. So, no new actions from the OA while we've been talking that I can see. We'll see how this thing rolls out over the next couple of days, what the numbers look like. We'll be able to tell people what we think the payouts will be, what the APRs will be. Kind of go from there.
The APR itself is confusing to people too, right? When people say, oh, you're making 38%, they're like, you can't make 38%. Yeah, you can make 38% more coins. That's the part they don't get. And why are you making 38% more coins? Well, because only 10% of the people are staking. You're only making 3.69%, but only 10% of the people are active. So that means you get a 10x multiplier, right? Now that the OA is staked, you're looking at the 3%, max inflation. And that depends on your position too, because you get a 3x multiplier if you're staking long, right? You get, so, and the 3.69% is for your average length staker, which the average is what, 7-8 years now?
A little bit lower, around 6.
But the thing is, it's not in US dollar terms. So literally, if you're talking about US dollar terms, if the price 4x's, you're making the same money you were anyway. So, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's been a topic that keeps coming up with people. They're like, well, you can't really count the appreciation, but I mean, the price is a factor of it.
Well, it's all about framing. It's all about framing, right? Everybody wants to measure from the top down. Well, guess what? Not everything went up 10,000x first. If something goes up 10,000x and it drops 90%, you're still standing on the 1,000th floor, right?
Yeah.
If something goes up 1,000x and it drops 90%, you're still on the 100th floor. If it only goes up 10x, you're standing on the first floor.
I know.
It makes a big difference on how much it goes up, and you're measuring from the top. It gives you such a wrong perspective. And somebody pointed this out the other day. If the price goes down 50%, and then the next day it goes back up 50%, are you at the same price? No,
Nope.
You're actually not.
Nope.
Because you go down 50%, you lost half your money. You go up 50% money, you only double one half of your money. So you're only up 75% of your original 100%.
Got it.
That is what really fixes people, right? They don't get that. And then they don't get, okay, oh, I put $1,000 in at the high, I'm screwed. Okay. You put $1,000 in at the high and $1,000 in at a penny, the price goes up to 2 cents, you broke even. They don't get that. They don't get that. They are going to watch the line go all the way up, and they bought here, and they're going to ride it all the way down and bitch all the way down, and they're going to bitch all the way back up, because instead of reducing the time that they need to wait by reducing their entry price, they're just going to bitch because they feel like they've lost money. They're mad. They don't want to participate anymore. So they're going to have a painful ride. They're going to have a terrible, painful ride for the rest of this. And all they had to do, look, if you got $100 in at the top, and you're like, damn it, you just put $100 in at a penny, 2 cents, you broke even. 2 cents because your first 100 is gone. Okay. Your next 100 only needs to double to cover that first 100. Whether it's 1,000, whether it's 10,000, whatever your position was, whatever you put in at the top, if you put in a penny, you only have to move a penny to make your money back. If you don't do that, the alternative is you have to wait all the way on the ride down, and you're going to have to wait all the way on the ride back. And odds are on the ride back, because you didn't reduce your entry cost, because you didn't reduce it, you're going to get mad and sell halfway anyway. So you're still going to take a loss. Was that too fast?
Yeah. It's interesting, man, when you start talking about that. I mean, it's the biases that we have
It's the bias.
in general with trading and money and tokens, you know.
You got the EHEX chart to pull up? Everybody that bought last year is happy with EHEX.
Which one do you want to say?
Just the EHEX chart. Last year, just the whole year. Last 12 months.
Let's see if I got my. Well, I'll just pull Deck Screener. That's easy. I
usually go to hexchart.com and just pull that one up because it's already set in log mode.
Oh, somebody was asked hexchart.com, right? I forgot about
hexchart.com.
Somebody was asking me about that. Does it have the full history?
Yeah, full history.
All right. Yeah, because I forgot about that one.
That's my favorite. And I like to put it down, crank it down to a monthly. And you just look at it. Literally, this is the thing. Scrunch it all out there because we're switching to monthly and then put it to log. Yeah. So literally anybody that bought under that red line there is still up. And so that whole year, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months there, you'd be up. Those 6 months. It's from 2024. I forget what it was. Stretch it out a little bit.
Bring it back here. What are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking at this. I can't. You can't see what I'm pointing at. I'm looking at last year.
So March of 24.
See everything under that red line there? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, this
had all that time to be up, and so people that came in with no bias whatsoever are up.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what we're bitching about over here.
Well,
they have no idea.
Yeah. Well, it all depends on when you came in and what value, what price you came in at, on blah, blah, blah. Right.
And you can reduce, but see, I mean, you can reduce, you have the same opportunity as the people coming in today did. It's just most people have that bias of their entry being higher, and they're like, no, I'm not throwing any more bad money after bad money. So in essence, they're not reducing their entry point. By not reducing their entry point, they're not reducing their break-even point. So they're going to have just as miserable of a ride on the way up as they did on the way down, because they've got all that extra time to wait. I mean, you can do that and you can wait. But what we're looking at here is this is HEX's first cycle. That's it. HEX's first cycle. Here you go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you expect there not to be another cycle? It looks to me like it's resting on support pretty good. It looks to me that anybody that bought in the first year or anybody that bought in the last 12 months is doing all right in HEX.
Woohoo! Let's see it go up.
Yeah, if you zoom in on that, you see all those days that people could have bought below the price where it is, in that last year period.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to actually make it zoom better for me than this. I guess to do it like that.
Yeah, you break it down into weeks or something. It'll probably make it look better. Yeah, see all that. We had all that time. Everybody that bought anywhere in there is doing just fine.
That's something somewhere right around 28 weeks
Mm-hmm.
worth of buying. Yeah.
And that was directly after Richard said, screw HEX, basically. And everybody told you dump your bags and migrate. That was like the best time to buy. How convenient.
Yeah, this one must be based on TradingView. Is that a TradingView chart? Looks like it. Wonder if I can bring my GRM indicator over here and use it. Maybe I could. I won't do it on screen, but it'd be pretty good to do. That's the one that gives me, larger cycle, kind of like it's a pie indicator, really. But when to, when the tops are in.
We're still at a penny. Combined HEX, we're still at a penny. We're 50x from all-time high. That's nothing in this space.
Oh yeah.
So why can new flavor of the month coin do 100x or 1000x or 10,000x or whatever everybody wants, but how come the established coin can't? Can anybody answer that? Because nobody cares. Why? Last I checked, Bitcoin was an established coin. Ethereum was an established coin. XRP is an established coin. Doge, established meme coin. Everybody knows Doge, right? Doge slept for years before it did shit. The founder absolutely abandoned Doge. He doesn't own a single one. Charlie Lee dumped all his Litecoin. Litecoin's still over $100.
You remember that? I remember that.
I remember that.
I remember.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know, man. It's just weird. It's just weird.
I think we're set. I think we're set up for like extreme bullish situations. So myself, and I think we'll be in really good shape here, and it can only get better. I think.
Where are we going to go? It's hard to fall when you're already laying on the floor.
I know. Well, you talk about the R&R, the risk reward. We're at a point right at the moment. I know it's kind of like sugarcoating it, but we're at a point now. There's much higher reward than risk if you're coming in now.
See, and the thing is, people are looking at, like you said, they want to put their $100 in, they want to walk away with $1 million. That's not very realistic. 10,000 X's are not laying around everywhere. Okay, to find something that even has done a 10,000x and is able to get back up is pretty remarkable, right? Mm-hmm. Holy grail of crypto used to be 100x. That was the holy grail. Everybody wanted to know the 100x coin. That's why when Richard said his coin could do 10,000x, everybody laughed, right? And when I say we're at a penny, we were told that HEX would never go to a penny because the market cap would be too high. We were told from day one that we were absolutely loony and ridiculous and idiots because HEX would never go to a penny because if it did, the market cap would be too high, and that's just not something. And things didn't have supply like HEX did. Things didn't have 650 billion coins. The fact that Richard made such a large supply, it's incredible. So to look back where we are, we're still at a level people didn't even believe it was ever possible. And we went 50x beyond that. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing to say that we can't do it again.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can see that as well, I mean, if we even look at
5,000 stakers, we did it with like 5,000 stakers and about 10 of us streaming, nobody cared. The problem is what happens when a coin gets big is you actually do get interested parties. You get people that get big positions that shouldn't have them, that don't appreciate those positions, and they're willing to dump them. If you treat HEX like it's everything else, then it's going to behave like everything else, right? You know, the common denominator is always you in the equation. You know, if you're going to treat things a certain way, you're going to keep getting the same kind of results because common denominator is you. You know, if you don't start learning how to value something, it's not going to appreciate in value. If you're looking to sell and you're screaming, you want the value to go up so you can sell, well, you don't value it. You're just looking for an exit. You're not actually valuing the product that you're holding. You're looking for an exit. You know, yeah, obviously, all of us want price appreciation. Do we need it right this very second? No. Maybe some people do. But
I need it.
But this being the first cycle, if you're in crypto, your first cycle, you need to have about $10,000 in. Period. If you want that, if you have $10,000 in, you get 100x, you got your $1 million. You have less than a 10,000 in, you need way more than 100x, right? If you have 10,000 in and in your first cycle you can 10x it, now you got $100,000 to work with, right? Now you only need another 10x. So you might not get 100x in one cycle, but in 2 cycles you can. So it's a matter of where you're at and where you need to be. If you only have $1,000, then your first cycle, you shouldn't be thinking about selling. You should be thinking about 10xing that. So you've got 10,000 in for the next cycle, you know? So, but people don't talk about that because everything's a lottery ticket for people. They're like, it's a lottery ticket. It's like, okay, look, you don't want to wait. You don't want to wait. That's fine. Go have 5 years of college, pay back your student loans for the next 30 years. Go start a business, work 16 hours for 5 years before you can afford to pay yourself. Or why not? I don't know what else you're going to do. You're going to buy some properties so your tenants can tear the shit out of the properties and you can have months and months of downtime while you're doing the repairs, while you're paying contractors out of pocket, and then hoping that you maybe get it back on the market and rent it so you can start making back some of that money you lost. Also, while you're paying taxes on those buildings that the people tore apart. You know, look, there's a lot of easy way that, you know, if you don't think this is easy enough money for you, then maybe you shouldn't appreciate what you have. Maybe you should just let it go.
Well, it sounds like this is a good point to stop this stream and end it. I'm pretty excited about it. So thank you for your insights on all this, man. Thanks for joining me. We'll just watch and see what happens here. And
watch what you asked for, man.
Let's see. Hey, checks. I don't have the actual circulating supply at the moment. I have to
well,
wait.
if you could pull up what is staked, you know that 5% of the supply is circulating. So,
yeah.
I mean, really, guys, it's not a lot. It's not a lot. You know, if everybody bought $100 worth of HEX today, you'd be real surprised at how quick the price moved. But the problem is, like I said, we've got people.
You can't organize. You can't organize that though because
you can't organize them to do that.
There'd be somebody sitting there waiting to drop it.
And somebody's always trying to front run everybody else. Yeah. So you can't really organize that. You have to let the system just work its way out. But I'm telling you, when you got people coming in with $1,000, $10,000, $10,000 will move the price on the Ethereum side substantially. You'll get a couple percentage points, you know, just with a $10,000 purchase.
Oh, yeah.
And there's that Pampy.app if you want to kind of like theorize what amounts of money with no sellback would be. You can do that too. But we're just treading our wheels here, right? People have to actually push that buy button. And then on the way in, they don't realize how narrow that hallway is. And then when everybody tries to get in, you know, it just keeps pushing higher and higher because there's not the availability. Right now, it's like selling ice cream in the winter. Nobody wants the ice cream in the winter. But as soon as summer hits, everybody's lined up at Dairy Queen and you got to wait in line, right? So that's how crypto season really hits. You know, the line gets longer and longer when people decide to buy, and everybody has to start waiting in line.
Yeah,
And that's what
that's
makes
a
the price
yeah. For
exponential.
anybody who doesn't have a Dairy Queen, I can vouch for you. That's the case. You drive by, you drive by. There's nobody there in the winter. As soon as it gets warm, there's 20 people out the door. But, all right, dude. I have to end this stream, so we'll go ahead and go. You have anything you want to say to people as you're going? I know you already said it, but as you're on your
Oh,
way out.
be patient, guys. Don't be emotional. Realize this is a longer play game. It's not for the faint of heart. It is going to be a rocky roller coaster, and know the ride that you're on. Um, have faith, and just keep on being you.
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.
All right, buddy. Hey, again, hey, thanks for joining me. Thanks everybody for joining us and listening. I'm sure we'll be back talking about more Hex stuff. I think I'm going to keep talking about Hex, so that'll be my plan, and I'll be more Hex centric. So cheers, everybody.